You know, he was a wonderful grandfather, and anyone who knew him knows that he loved his grandchildren and wanted them to be happy. But he did not want them to be content only in their own happiness. He wanted each of them to receive direct from his hand the duty and the responsibility and the burden to carry forward the work that he had undertaken. And as it turned out, it was only a few months after we came back from that premature birthday celebration that he was diagnosed with the cancer that would take his life. And how grateful our whole family is that he had that intuition, that he fulfilled that desire and that mission before he left us. My sister is the mother of 10 of those 17 grandchildren, and so I would now like to turn to her, Mrs. Annette Hillman Dick, to close this event today. Annette.
First of all, I want to say thank you so much. I have been moved, and many of those who have spoken are not here anymore, but you know, after my father died, we also lost my husband unexpectedly 2 years later. And in this company, I truly feel that we are family. We are of one heart and of one mind. We have one vision for our world, and that is that we are brothers and sisters. And though my sister and I were the only siblings in our family, I look out and I truly feel like I have sisters and brothers here who help us to not feel alone, either in the times of our joy or the times of our sorrow. I am deeply moved when I see these images. My husband, my sweet husband, who is not Jewish, went with our 5 youngest children and I. We drove to Auschwitz so we could see where so many of my family had died. And if any of you have had the opportunity to make that journey, it is a truly wretched place. The years have not done anything to cover the infamy and dreadfulness of that spot. It was swarming with mosquitoes. It was full of barbed wire. The crematoria were still present. And we felt a great sadness, but also a gratitude that we could go there and we could pray with love over the graves of those who we had loved and who were our forebears, and we were grateful for that. My father was very fond of admonishing me often when I was young with the same words that Congressman Enni Faleomavega used, and that was, those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it. It seems so appropriate that these archives dedicated to the memory of the Holocaust and to fighting anti-Semitism, of which my father once took me aside and he said, I will never, to my dying day, understand it. This thing called anti-Semitism, this fomented hatred is beyond my ability to comprehend. But these archives and this work that MEMRI is doing allows us to have the opportunity to collectively learn from history, and we pray not to repeat it. Just as we are determined to avoid denial and thus repetition of the unspeakable horrors of the past, we are also determined to bring to light the harsh judgments and angry visions of those with whom we disagree. It is really, to me, hopeful that as the mirror is raised and as those in the Middle East are able to see and hear what is said by those who seek to promulgate these lies, and I find it very interesting because there's a tremendous basic contradiction here, because we have those who say the Holocaust never happened and those who hold it up as a model for future action. When people lie, it always contradicts. It is not one, like the testimony we've heard today. Because as my mom will tell you, as my sister will tell you, each of the congressmen and congresswomen who spoke today were taught by my father, and we know it because he taught us the same thing since we were little children. It's one story. It's one story. We saw on these 2 videos 2 stories, 2 contradictory stories, because it is not unified. It is not one. And I pray that as this story is put up for those of our friends and the dear, good people in the Arab world to see, they will reject it. Many of you probably don't know, in my home right now, I have a young man from Qatar, I have a young man from Libya, and a young man from Saudi Arabia living with my family as brothers and sisters. We live, we share our meals, we talk about everything under the sun. We love each other. These young men are like sons to me, and they treat me like their mother, and I love them dearly. They support me in a time which has been a hard time for me and my family, and I'm very grateful to them. I am hoping that as we hold this mirror up, we will have an opportunity to change the nature of the dialogue in our world. And I thank every single one of you for being a part of that process. I thank you for being a part of our family, of this wonderful human family. And I want you to know I look at you each as brothers and sisters, and I am deeply grateful, as are my mother and sister and our whole family, for you. And we know that my father does live on in this work, and we thank you for being a part of it.